Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be going over exact trigonometric values. So for your maths non-calculator paper, you will need to know these values, but I think that it's boring and not useful for you to memorize this table. Instead, it's a much more effective revision method if you memorize these triangles, because it gives it to you in a more intuitive way. So this triangle I have on the left hand side, it's a right angle triangle, and it has the length 1, 2, and root 3. So those are the lengths of the sides, and those are just very easy numbers to remember, just 1, 2, 3. Remembering that's root 3. If you forget which number goes where, think about Pythagoras. You know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where c is the hypotenuse. So you know that 1 squared plus root 3 squared should give you 2 squared, which it does. So that's how you can remember where each length goes. In terms of the angles, you know that you need to remember 30 and 60 degrees, and you already have the 90-degree angle here marked out because it's a right angle triangle. You can just look and you'll see that the green angle is the smallest, so that'll be 30 degrees, and the yellow will be 60 degrees. This triangle that I have on the right hand side is a right angle isosceles triangle, which means two of its sides are the same length, and then you also have the hypotenuse. So the two sides of the same length have the length 1 and 1, and then the hypotenuse has the length root 2, which is, again, is quite intuitive because you know that root 2 is bigger than 1 and the hypotenuse is the longest side of a triangle. Also, 1 squared plus 1 squared equals root 2 squared, and that's how you can remember that. And because now this is an isosceles triangle, we can do 180 minus the right angle, which is 90, and then divide that by 2, so we get 45 and 45 degrees. So these two triangles should give you all the values except the ones for 0 degrees and 90 degrees, but the 0 degree and 90 degree angles are quite easy to remember, and I'll go over them later in this video. So, how do we get the ones for 0 degrees and 90 degrees? Essentially, I think the best way to do this is by knowing what the graph looks like. You're going to need to know what the graph looks like for all your maths papers, so it's really important that you have this in your mind. And as you can see for the sin x graph, when it's 0, the y value is also 0, and for sine 90, that's 1. You need to remember that the peak of the sine graph is at 90, so that will always be 1. In terms of the cos graph, because that's just a sine graph shifted 90 degrees to the left, it's just the opposite way around, so cos 0 will be 1, and cos 90 is 0. So that's quite an easy way to remember that. In terms of tan, there is no value for tan 90 because that's an asymptote, so graph never actually reaches 90, so there is no value, and tan 0 is just 0. So these are very easy numbers to remember, it's just zeros and ones, so you don't particularly need the triangles. But what I recommend is at the start of your paper, just draw the triangles out, because most of the time they will ask you to give you tan 30, for example, or maybe you'll give you a triangle, as I'll show later on in this video. So let's do a practice question. Before we do these practice questions, these are the formulae for trig. I'll make a video on this, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that. Essentially, you use these three formulae when calculating the length of a side or to find out what a angle is. So here's a question. Write down the exact value of sine 45. So that means you have to use this formula here, where sine theta will give you opposite over hypotenuse, and we have then our triangle that I just showed you. So sine 45 is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. That's the 45-degree angle. You can use either of them, and that's your opposite, that's your hypotenuse. So sine 45 will give you 1 over root 2. That's your exact trig value. Here's another one with the other triangle. So I asked you for tan 30, and that would be opposite over the adjacent. That's our 30-degree angle. That's our opposite. that's the adjacent, so tan 30 is 1 over root 3. This question is more of what you're likely to get in an exam. So it asks you to find the length AB. So first thing you should be doing is labeling what each side is. So we know that AB is the adjacent to the 60-degree angle and the 12 centimeter AC, and that's the hypotenuse. Now, what we do here now is we know we have to use the cosine formula because we have the adjacent and the hypotenuse, and because it's a 60-degree angle, we're using this triangle. So that gives us cos 60 times 12 because the adjacent is equal to cos theta times the hypotenuse. And as you can calculate now, cos 60 is 1 over 2, which is a half, because that's the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And we're just multiplying 12 by a half, that's just 6 centimeters. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps, and good luck for your GCSEs. If you want me to go over any specific topics, do let me know down in the comments. I'll be happy to cover them in future videos. Thanks for watching.